Yeah. So what's this pig right here? This ugly, except for to its mother and me, is a standalone drill press that actually has some DNA in common with the Shopsmith Mark V. If you don't mind a brief little bit of history, back in the 1940s, the original Shopsmith multipurpose tool called the Model 10E, 10ER was invented by a German engineer and inventor. And then along with a couple buddies that he knew from the shipyards from World War II, they started the company Magna Engineering. Magna Engineering then, in the 1950s, introduced the Shopsmith Mark V. It actually got its first bit of fanfare in 1954 and then hit full production 1955. Now, also during that period, a number of special purpose or single purpose tools were introduced, such as the 6-inch joiner. No, 4-inch joiner, 6-inch belt sander, the jigsaw back here. There was an air compressor of sorts they called the air sprayer, and a few other tools that were designed to be able to go off and on the Mark V. Well, in the late 1950s, the company was purchased, and the company who purchased them became Yuba Consolidated or Yuba Products. It's a little murky to me. But I think one of the things that Yuba was trying to do after they purchased the line was maybe in order to get some new revenue streams, or maybe just because they actually conceived of some opportunities for new revenue streams. They leaned in very heavy to selling these tools back here to people who don't own the Shopsmith multi-purpose tool. They'd already had a stand that if your shop grew and your space grew, your money grew, you could put these tools on their own individually powered stands. And they just leaned in hard with that, with a whole series of things that they called Powr-Line, or no, not Powr-Line, Magna-Line tools. And so there's a catalog that came out in the late 1950s that shows all of these tools back here on their own individual stands. And they also started to replicate some of the functions of the Shopsmith. And among those there was a lathe that I've only ever seen one real picture of, John Dalton, and you know who you are. A table saw that was on its own stand. A variation on that table saw with this jointer sitting right alongside it on the same stand. They came up with even a standalone benchtop version of a jigsaw, of a belt sander, and of a joiner, also again under that Magna-Line brand. They were also at that same time making tools for Montgomery Wards under the brand Powr-Kraft. Okay, so I say that they were replicating some of the functions of the Mark V. Well, another one of those functions was the drill press. And I have been looking for this drill press on eBay for years. It's been one of my saved searches. And the other day, while scrolling through Facebook Marketplace, I just happened upon something that was listed as an antique drill press. In fact, one of the comments about this was that it was a Black & Decker. Well, I knew from first glance that it's not a Black & Decker. It's a Magna, and this was part of the Magna line. So interesting. I want to show you a little bit about this tool, and it's going to get restored. At this point, it's a little bit of a mess, but you'll see where it's got some things in common with your Shopsmith tools if you happen to own Shopsmith tools. So just quick glance, some things that are in common with our Shopsmith tools. The first one is it has a 5/8 unthreaded shaft here on the quill, and it has a tapered flat. So it was designed to use the standard Shopsmith drill chuck and some of the drill accessories. I mean to check this. I just about guarantee you that tube is the same size tube as the tube on our Mark V. I'll double check that. There's some differences, such as how we set the depth on the depth gauge, but interestingly, you set that depth using a 5/32 hex wrench, the Shopsmith toolbox. The base of this, where it's designed to be bolted onto an SPT stand, is in a very similar configuration to the mounting base that was also used on that stand, although it is much heavier and much larger than what you see here. Interestingly, this entire thing is made of cast iron. And I mean, just about every casting here. I haven't checked the front. Nope, that's aluminum, and that makes sense that that be aluminum. Yeah, all of this is cast iron, making this ridiculously heavy. Right now, I have it just sitting on the stand because I need to put casters on the stand, but this is where it's going to be bolted. The previous owner of this at some point wired this with a switch on the side, which I'll show you. That's not how this was intended to be used. Magna would sell this to you without a motor, and they would tell you exactly what motor to buy and about a half dozen small pieces of hardware that they recommended that you purchase separately. I was looking down in here and realized, oh, whoever put this together didn't purchase one of the items that was recommended separate, and I'll show you that in a moment. But you would buy this, it would be compacted in a box, and all of this can slide down and compress down on that tube, and you would then add your motor. Let's take a look down under the hood and see how we change speeds. So the tensioning is really interesting here. They've given us a little handle that when you rotate this, that allows us to swing the motor closer to the body of the drill press, and we can then move the pulley or move the belt on the pulley to a new step. And then we're going to add the tension back to it, and we do that by pushing down on this lever. And there's a detent that that little bolt head is popping into. But you'll notice that that's under spring tension. It's possible to fine-tune this in and out in order to get the actual correct tension for this belt. Again, this would have been included, but the motor itself was not. On the side here, we have a lever lock for the headstock and a lever lock for the table. The table can be rotated, and you can see at some point in time it has been rotated, and there's been holes drilled into the table. Seems to be pretty common with drill presses. But you can actually loosen this and swing the headstock around the side and drill off the side on stock that may be standing upright. The depth gauge and the quill level are different. This is a very small lever, or small diameter lever. You can see it's got a bit of a bend in it. So over the years, it's been forced to move, and maybe, I don't know if they tried mortising with it or something. It's got a bit of a bend. It's shown in the catalogs positioned in the middle. They talk about how it can be extended to give you the leverage that you might need. The depth gauge on here is very similar to on the Shopsmith, except to simplify this, they have used a set screw, and you loosen the set screw and then turn the dial and lock the set screw in place. And here on the front, it has a Magna nameplate. Curious about what's behind that. And I was looking down in here from the top, and it looks pretty yucky. But let's take this off. It seems like the perfect place to put a switch box, and maybe that was something that they had considered, but I've not seen that. Oh, I see, and that just swivels, and yeah, okay, we've got stuff. A squirrel must have been dropping some things off in here. Yep. Yeah, we'll take care of that later. Gonna work? Yeah, it works. Now, as we come around to the side, things take a little bit of a turn. You can see that the previous owner has cobbled together some form of a switch, and I was wondering what this looks like a piece of a tin can or pop can is for, and it turns out there is a light socket underneath here, and there was a light bulb or parts of a light bulb screwed in here, and that was obviously directing the light away from the user's eyeballs. This is a lock for the quill. So when the quill is extended, if you want to hold it in place either while fumbling with the depth gauge or maybe for doing some operations like drum sanding, this will lock into the quill or lock the quill in place. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on this side. Now, I mentioned that this was added, the switch box. This isn't how Magna intended us to power this on and off. Now, the original SPT stand had infill panels with pegboard, and right here was an on-off switch, and you would plug the switch into the wall and then wire in or plug your motor into that switch box. Now, as the years went on, Shopsmith modified a switch or made this switch, and this is how it's supposed to be used today. So I think I have this switch on. It's very sketchy, and we could or should be able to turn it on here. And there we go. A little bit of wobble. Actually, a fair amount of vibration, I think, being brought on by that belt. So for sure, we'll be replacing that belt, probably with a linked belt to make this whole thing run a bit smoother. And the amount of travel I have on this quill is almost nothing at this point. What I get, about an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of travel. So I need to get in here and see what's gunked up around that rack and pinion drive, make sure everything is cleaned out inside of there, and we'll see where this goes. So a quick call to action for you. I'm interested in these Magna-Line tools, as are several others here in the Shopsmith community. And so we're looking for literature, we're looking for ads, and more importantly, we're looking for these tools. So if you happen to know of their locations, let me know. And our intention is to share them with you. You don't have to worry about sending me eBay listings because I'm already looking at eBay listings, but maybe your local Facebook Marketplace or your local Craigslist is showing some of these Magna tools. If you see them, please throw me an email to the link that you see on the screen. Also, if you're not over at mygrowthrings.com, get over there. We're chatting about these kinds of things. Would love your input. And at least when I'm filming this video, there's another month left in something that we call Christmas Creations, which is a challenge for the people over there. You might as well get in on it because it don't cost nothing. All right, that's it. Make it a great day.